Our SEC Media Days coverage from Nashville continues. We're about to talk about Saturday nights on the SEC Network. Brought to you in part today by our friends at MyBookie.ag.
Yeah, MyBookie.ag. Code next round when you sign up for that sign-on bonus up to $1,000. MyBookie.ag. Code next round. Jordan Rodgers, SEC Network with us. What's up? How are you?
What's going on? I'm good. We're just getting started here. I feel like it's the off season for me too, because I do a whole hour of Radio Row and I realize my voice is not in shape yet.
That's right. You got to work, man.
I got to do some more strength and conditioning for the vocal cords in the off season.
I think you and I are on the same page. I was doing an interview in Austin, Texas earlier, and they asked me about who was going to win the SEC, and I said LSU. Like, it seems like elite coaches in that second year make that big jump, and you saw that team, not only Jayden Daniels, but the entire team got better each and every week.
Yeah, they overachieved in year one, I think. And I loved watching Jayden's progression and development because he went from – he's extremely talented, played a ton of football before LSU. But when it comes to reading SEC defenses consistently, they manage that. And Mike Denbrock had to manage that. A lot of split field reads, so giving him 1 to 2 options on each side of the field or just one side of the field. But as the year went on, he started to get more consistent in some of those reads. The next step for them, because I do believe, I'm with you, I think LSU is the front runner in the West. How Carson Beck starts to develop with Georgia is going to really push that for the SEC championship. That would be my pick right now. But their ability to develop more explosive plays downfield in the passing game, I think is going to be huge for them. They were like 9th in the SEC, I think, in passing plays 25+, and one of the lowest in the SEC in play-action pass touchdowns and the second lowest in play-action pass completions. Now, to me as a quarterback, I go, well, when you're developing a quarterback that is struggling or learning how to use his eyes, the last thing you want to do is take him away from the defense for a play-action pass, turn his back to it. So the more he develops and be able to hit some of those big plays downfield, they're stacked in the running back group, they're stacked on the offensive line. I think that really helps them start to open up downfield, hitting more of those explosive plays. You add that to Jayden's athletic ability, what they do on the ground, they're going to be tough to beat.
Yeah, I saw him say that the transition for him to the SEC was the speed of defensive linemen and linebackers, and he had to adjust to that. And it did look like he adjusted as the season looked long. Did you see that on tape?
It's the exact same thing I experienced. I went from junior college to the SEC, and albeit I probably had a little less talent around me at Vandy than he has, but the linebackers at each level is what really changes. And people ask you, why does the game speed up? There's fast receivers and fast DBs everywhere, all over the country. Junior college, D2, D1, NFL. The linebackers at this level close windows. And so as a quarterback, you have to catch up to that. In the NFL, it's another jump because they're even better and quicker at closing those windows. So that's a learning curve. So I understand how it takes some adjusting to understand how and when those windows are open and how quickly they close. But I think it was fun to watch him develop throughout the year, and he's going to be a stud this next year.
When you look at a guy like Tommy Rees coming to Tuscaloosa from Notre Dame, and I know you've never done it, but you've watched this league. I mean, what advice do you think a seasoned coordinator would say, boy, if I could give you one piece of advice about stepping into the SEC, it would be this?
Piece of advice for him stepping in, I think it's, again, as an offensive coordinator, especially under the pressure of being at Alabama, when you're sitting up there with your call sheet, you really are starting to, trying to solve a puzzle at times. What do I need to do here? And you start to get spread out. And same thing when I actually was just talking to Derek Mason, because he's working with us now, about what's the one word of advice for someone working on TV or doing a game or doing a studio show? And I said I would always over prep, and it would almost be paralysis by analysis. I would be trying to do so much and chase that stat or that nugget that I'd get away from the core value of just talking football and doing what I do best. So as an offensive coordinator, if you're trying to call the perfect play, sometimes you get away from what your guys do best. And as a quarterback, whoever the quarterback is, whether it's Ty Simpson or Tyler Buchner, which I think it's going to be one of those two, you need to continually give them plays that they're most confident in. And so the more you're chasing, trying to solve a puzzle and get that next amazing play, sometimes you get away from what your quarterback does best. And so that's something that a lot of offensive coordinators talk about, is having that area on their call sheet that they get back to the bread and butter, right? My quarterback needs a confidence boost. He needs to settle down. I'm coming back here, as opposed to trying to chase that next big dynamic play, which sometimes you get in the balancing act.
You mentioned Simpson and Buchner, and I find it fascinating. I mean, Nick Saban's always had productive quarterbacks the last 7 or 8 years. He's had elite quarterbacks. Yeah. But everybody's got a different opinion on this quarterback battle. You know, it was Simpson 6 months ago, and then it was, well, if Buckner's going to transfer there, you know, he knows something. And then recently people have said Milroe, but you think it's a two-man race and Milroe's kind of the odd man out.
Yeah, I think, and I only say that because I did the spring game, so I was there when it was just Ty and Jalen. And the first and most impactful thing that Nick said in that meeting when I sat down with him is both quarterbacks, any quarterbacks, hey, what do you need your quarterback to do? Take these guys off the table. The quarterback of Alabama, what do they need to do? And he said they need to stop making the plays that beat us before they make the plays that win the game for us. And so he puts a high value on protecting the football. And Jalen Milroe can make some plays that make you go, wow. Not many dudes can make that throw or make that athletic play. But he makes some plays that make you go, wow. Can't do that. Right? So that's why I say you bring in Tyler Buckner because you need another guy that can run the offense that we're going to run. Because what Milroe runs and what the other guys run are very different. I think they need to be this because they're 7 or 8 deep in the wide receiver group. I think they're incredibly talented. Incredibly. Those 4 that were true freshmen last year, Prentice, Bond, Law, and Henderson, they're going to take a big step. Jermaine and Ja'Cory are proven, and Malik Benson, the JUCO guy, is a stud. They got dudes everywhere. They need a point guard. They need a guy that just distributes. And so I think it's going to be one of those guys because they do that most consistently. They don't make some of the wow plays that Milroe does, but I don't think you need to with the talent they have at running back, at tight end, at receiver. They need a guy that makes less mistakes. And to me, it's going to be one of those two guys. I'm going to give you my prediction. I think it's going to be tied to start the year, but I think that battle continues throughout the first 3 or 4 weeks.
Boy, quarterback's a fascinating position. Do you think if you had your brain that you've got right now when you were 20 or 21 with your skill set, your career would have been totally different?
I have this internal struggle with myself because, and I was just talking about this earlier, I think quarterback play gets misconstrued because I think we have this almost standard where we say a quarterback needs to be able to go through 4 or 5 reads after the ball is snapped. That's the biggest load of BS. If you're trying to go through 4 or 5 reads after the ball is snapped, you're never going to play as fast as you need to. The best quarterbacks, and when the game slows down, is when you eliminate reads before the ball is ever snapped.
For the people that don't know, you know where it's going to be.
Right, so I walk to the line of scrimmage, I go, okay, based on where the defense is, I know it's not going to be this guy or this guy, or I know it's not going to be this concept. So I'm going to, instead of working 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I'm going to work 3, 4, check down. That's how you play fast. Now, the next layer of that is, okay, I know it's not going to be 1 or 2, but I'm still going to take my eyes there because I want to move these linebackers. So I'm still going to go 1, 2, pump, and I'm going to come back to my 3 or 4. Now it can move the defense. Now it can manipulate the defense. Me as a college player, I was like, I want to play in the NFL, so I got to be able to go 1, 1, boom, 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 all the way, post-snap. I got to be able to do it all. If you're trying to see 11 guys, you're never going to play fast. So I would go shake that kid and go, hey, get rid of 2 or 3 before the ball is ever snapped, right? And then when you narrow your focus, now you give yourself the milliseconds, but the time to manipulate the defense and to move them. And when you do that, that's when you're really playing, all right? The best in the NFL, that's what they do. They move in guys. They know where they're going to go. Or ish, you have a good idea, right? Yeah, I mean, you're never going to lock in, but you have a good idea, and that allows you to play the game and manipulate.
All right, so tell us the story. You're doing Instagram Live with your wife, JoJo.
Oh, God.
And some naked dude shows up. What happened?
This is unbelievable. Yes, we don't do, I guess you could classify me and my wife as influencers. We don't. I hate that world. It's great, and I do it a lot. But so we're doing an Instagram Live. We don't do enough of these, but we have this show that we're hosting that's out, a reality dating show called The Big D right now. And on the show, one of our co-hosts is actually a relationship therapist. Jada Jackson's her name. And so we're doing this Instagram Live, and if you've done one before, the comments will come up and it says, someone wants to join or whatever. And we see Dr. Jada. She wants to join the thread. Oh, we were just talking about the show. Let's bring her on. So we click it, and it pulls up this shot of, the side of a bed. And I'm like, oh, maybe she didn't know that we were going to, add her on right now. And then all of a sudden there's a naked dude standing there. I'm like, oh, my God. What is it? What is that? And then the dude comes to the camera and full just gives you everything right in front of the camera.
No mystery, right?
It's sort of a confusing title,
and
though.
So great natural marketing for the show, I will tell you. But it showed a lot about me and my wife because I froze. I was just like, And she's like, oh my God, how do I get this off? And it was unbelievable. But like you said, we were talking about a show that is a little bit of a double entendre name. So social media is funny, man. But I will say it was a laugh.
The weird thing is if you had said this happened SEC Stadium or Instagram Live, I'm like, I don't really know. Could have been either one.
That's a good point.
Most likely, though, Baton Rouge.
Baton
right?
Rouge.
Baton Rouge,
I mean,
right,
if I was going to go SEC Stadium, I'd say Baton Rouge. Yeah.
This is fun. I don't have to leave at 11:30. So if you guys want to keep talking, we got a little bit more. We can keep going.
Okay.
Well, I do.
All right, let's rock.
I do follow you on social media, and you seem to be very thankful for a lot of things in your life, and that has to be your broadcast partners too. Like
totally.
Tom Cole and you guys have a special chemistry. You watch a lot of booths, and a lot of booths don't get that.
Yeah, it's great, and I'm blessed to be. Well, I think we're going on 7 years now. But you're right. Like, talking football is fun. Well, whether you're best friends with a guy or not, like, I'm blessed to just be able to be around the sport because I love it. Didn't play as long as I wanted to, so I'm glad to still be around the sport. But we're buddies. Like, when the cameras are off and we're not talking football, like, we're still talking during the week about life and kids and everything. So I'm blessed to be able to work with people that I genuinely love. And let alone, I think they're really good at their job.
Right.
Like, Tom is so talented, and Tom makes me better. What a great play-by-play guy does is he understands what some of my strengths are, what I really want to talk about. When he sees it, he can set it up without even letting people know he's setting it up.
He's the quarterback.
Totally. He absolutely is. And Cole is just like, nobody grinds on more film. Nobody knows the X's and O's better than Cole. And also, he's pretty fun to tease him a little bit every now and then, too. So we have our fun, but it's a great crew. And, we hope that – I hope that as kind of college football and watching college football changes, we want to provide the balance of feeling like you're watching guys that like each other, that are just having a beer watching the game, but also I know football, and I do want to teach football still, and I want to show things that maybe the viewer didn't see. So I hope, and we always try to strike a little bit of balance there.
I know Friday night dinners are big. Is there a certain place in a certain town that you've got to go every time you go back there?
Oh, man. Well, the unfortunate part about now working on Nation is I don't get to do Friday dinners with Tom and Cole. I show up about 2 hours before the game and head straight to the stadium. But I will say a couple of my favorites. I do love Acre in Auburn.
Very good.
I think is one of the best. Love that.
The bacon is fantastic.
The bacon app they have there is dumb. Oxford and
you go City Grocery in Oxford?
City Grocery, and then there's another one that just opened like last year, I think. I forget the name, but the same owner. It's like right across the street.
Yep, I know what you're talking about.
Can't go wrong in Oxford. Where else? Actually, Lexington's one of my favorites. Lexington's just it's one of my favorite places to do a game. One, because it's the biggest booth in football.
Really?
I mean, it's like a garage. It's like this size. The booth is this size, and we got so much space to spread out. Some of the booths are kind of small.
Oh yeah.
It can be a little. It is what it is. But Kentucky's nice. Also, great places to eat. Ruby's is one we go in Lexington quite a bit. Those are a couple of ones that stand out.
Yeah, back to your presentation with Jimbo. I mean, watching him over there with all his papers.
Yeah, it seems like he's got too much.
Yeah, he's got too much.
It's like he's got his tax returns, and he's like digging through them. I mean, it's crazy.
So, I mean,
But Petrino is going to be a huge difference.
If he lets him call the plays, right?
Yeah, that's the
you
key.
got to.
So, I mean, I spent enough time around Gus for a while that Gus would take the keys back from rep in the middle of the game.
Yep.
Or certain weeks ago, I'm going to call him this week. I mean, you can't be an offensive coordinator like that. So if Jimbo actually lets him call, I think that's going to be huge. But it's just, I said it earlier, Texas A&M has been a complex scheme with a simple presentation. They need to be a simple scheme with a complex presentation. You have to make the defense think. They're talented, man. I mean, you could argue those three receivers that they have are in that conversation of the best receiving group in the SEC. I think there's a lot of teams in that conversation. I think receivers are very strong this year, but they have a ton of talent. Wigman played a ton better at the end of the year when they started to go more RPO. Simplify it for him. Give him one guy to look at. Stick it and go. Get the ball out of his hands because the offensive line was a little bit not great towards the end there. So they played faster. Wigman played better. Again, make it look like it's complex. Make it easy for your guys so they can play fast. Make the defense think more than your guys think. And if they can do that, they got the talent to be really good. It's just, can they do that? Because it's not new.
Yeah.
I mean, like, what's crazy about this conversation, too, is every year I would break down the amount of shifts and motions that they did pre-snap in every game versus the game against Alabama.
And it changed against Alabama?
Oh, it was not. I mean, like, the time the year they beat Alabama, they were at, like, this is my notes. This is not the Bible, and I maybe remember it slightly wrong, but they were like shift in motion on over 50% of their plays after their initial script of 10. And in every other game, it's like 17%.
Wow.
Yeah. Like, I mean, it is so it's not like Jimbo didn't know. He's a good offensive mind.
Yeah.
I think he just got stale. And I think he got to a point where he's like, okay, my quarterback can make it right, and my guys can line up and win. And they couldn't anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's just offense just changed from when he had Jameis and they were rolling to what it is now. And it was that power struggle of, no, but I've won like this. We can do it like this, but it just wasn't working, and other teams are winning a completely different way, and he just never completely made that change.
Boy, if he pulls those keys from Petrino, can you imagine the drama?
Could be a fight.
But, I mean, you heard the sound clip this offseason when he's like, who's going to call plays? Oh, yeah, we'll figure that out.
Yeah.
What? Wait, what?
That sounds combustible.
And then he kind of backtracked a little bit. Oh, I mean, I'm comfortable handling play calling. Oh, sure you are.
and Bobby's the guy who usually has a bag already packed by the door. So
Totally.
Surprised Bobby didn't leave when he heard that. Yeah.
But they're intriguing because they're so talented. If they make, again, minor adjustments, you're not changing wholesale everything. Change the presentation, adjust a few things, and I think they could be really good.
All right, Jordan, all day on the SEC Network. Starts with SEC Nation on campus in the primetime game. Man, we appreciate the time. Always fun.
Good, fellas.
Yeah, mybookie.ag, code next round to get that sign-up bonus up to $1,000.